Hi guys! Today I'm going to talk about The Force of Nature by Jane Harper, which was kindly sent to me by Kim from Little Brown Publishers. She's doing an amazing internship there and she says she's loving it, and she's doing a book tour for Jane when she goes on the Force of Nature tour, which is the second book in the series, called Aaron Falk, who is this police detective officer in Australia, and the different crimes he encounters along the way. I'll just go straight into my review. I gave this book 3.5 to 4 stars because I really enjoyed it. It was gripping. I read it in a couple of days. I really wanted to know what happened, who did it, and the writing style definitely captured me the whole time. There were a few reasons though why I couldn't give this book 5 stars, and that was because the main character, Aaron Falk, the detective, and the main character, I didn't really connect with as much. And I think this is because this is the second book in a series, but you didn't have to read the first book to try. But I reckon that because it was the first book, there would have been a lot of attachment to Aaron Falk in that particular book. And then in this one it was like a follow-on, and you know his backstory, and when he's on the phone to one of his old friends, that's not really explored as much, and I bet it's explored more in the first book. So I definitely want to go back and read that one first, and then if she brings out a third one, then I will be completely encapsulated with the characters and enjoy them. But saying that, I really didn't like Carmen, who is his partner. I just found it to be just a bit unnecessary at times. I like the figure, like the lone detective figure, and then she was just there, and their relationship confused me. In this book, this video is completely spoiler free, but in this book, their relationship just didn't really make sense to me. It's like a professional working relationship, and she's engaged to someone who doesn't really treat her very well. But as a police officer, I would expect her to recognise that she's unhappy in this situation, because the way she talks about him and the way she acts, just you don't feel that she loves him. And as someone who deals with people and understands people, you would expect her to just want happiness for herself, like she wants it for Aaron. So I was quite confused with all of that, but the way they worked together to figure out the case was really interesting. I loved the setting of the story. Just to give you a brief plot overview, Aaron and Carmen investigate the case of a missing lady after a corporate retreat where 5 women and 5 men went in separate groups into the forest and the wilderness of Australia for Friday night and Saturday night, and then they meant to reach their destination on Sunday. It was like a hiking, camping trip. There was a huge waterfall, and the description of the forest was really in depth, and I really enjoyed it. And I could feel the heat and the cold of Australia, which I thought was really cool because I didn't know Australia could be cold. And the way the story was narrated with the missing person was that it would keep saying Friday night, and then you'd see omnisciently everything that happened on Friday night with the girls group, and then it would flash back to present day, and you'd be with Aaron Falk and Carmen, and they'd be going through that bit of the investigation that led towards what happened on that particular night. So you got to see what happened, and you got to see them talking about it and then them discovering it, and it was like you were discovering it with them, which I thought was really cool. I think the only problem with this narrative style for me was that it wasn't paced particularly perfectly. The pacing was brilliant, as I said, I read it quickly, but I just think it could have been improved just to make it that even more intense, when you would have an intense moment in the girls group when it was happening then and there, and then when it swaps back to Aaron and Carmen going through the information that led them to find out what happened at that specific time, it felt like a bit of a D-thriller moment. I don't know if that's even a word, you know what I mean? Because it was everything happened and it was exciting, and then you knew what had happened and they were finding it out, and instead of feeling oh, it was a dun 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 moment, it was more of a, yeah, okay, I can see how that happened. And there was no really clever finding things out moments. It was like a telephone, oh, they found this out, and then you'd be oh, okay, so that's how they found it out. But it would have been cool if they found something that happens at the end, actually, something that they piece together, and it's really, really cool. I really like it when the stuff like that happens. But the thing that really made this whole novel for me were the characters of the girls in the girl group. The woman Alice, I think the best word to describe her is just bitch. She's just horrible, but then she's so complex in the way that her family is introduced, and she's just a bit of an enigma. And in the book, even though she's framed as this horrible corporate woman, apart from like being vindictive in the way she verbally addresses people, she doesn't actually do anything wrong. I loved, obviously, you have the twins of Bree and Beth, and I love the twin dynamic in books, especially when they're opposites, which Bree and Beth really were. Bree was Alice's assistant and she loved her and doted on her, and Beth was her like runaway, tearaway sister, and it talked a lot about their background, about their mother not like enjoying their relationship and how they really don't get on, and this is uncovered throughout the book, so you go deeper and deeper into their backstory, which is really cool. And then there's another woman, Lauren, who we don't really find out much about. We know her and Alice have a relationship, and that was incredible how that was developed throughout the story. My favourite character actually was Jill, who's like the corporate owner and like the sister of the other CEO, which was like Daniel, and those two went in the separate groups and led the women and the men through the forest. And I just absolutely loved Jill. She seemed like a character who was like pulled into things, and like even though she was a boss and knew how to stand up for herself, still got put into these situations without any choice. And I love the way she communicated with all the women on a team, and even though she was impartial sometimes, then she led other times, I felt really sorry for her. She was like one of my favourites, and out like throughout the book I was like, I hope this wasn't Jill. And I just really wanted Jill to be like a pure character, even though from like the plot line and like from Aaron Falk you just know that she's gonna have some sort of implication, but I just wanted her to be okay because she was great. I loved how issues such as like eating disorders and bullying were addressed in this book. It was quite uncomfortable to read at times because the way that the characters spoke to each other were really like harsh, and some things that Alice Alice did do horrible things in the book. She's making characters do things that they wouldn't necessarily do themselves, like forcing them into things and making herself be the best in the group. So that was quite uncomfortable to read, but I thought it was like a really good representation of how people can be, especially in like a Lord of the Flies kind of situation, which I definitely got vibes from that, but way more mature and like on a corporate level, because it's like adults from like offices that go on this retreat together. And overall this book was really, really good. I would definitely give the next one a read and also go back and buy the dry and read it myself. And thanks to Kim for giving me a copy for review. It was been a fab experience. And if you have any more questions or you want to chat about Force of Nature below in the comments, just leave me a comment and I will chat to you on the next video. Thanks guys, bye!